Hey there, I'm Trevor, and this is going to be a very special video. Every year, my family and I go on a big family vacation, and last year's was truly something special. Because of this, I just knew I had to make a video out of it so that we could relive it over and over again. We had so much fun on this trip, and so I hope that maybe you can experience even just a small portion of that from this video. So let's go to Colorado. Alright, welcome to Colorado Part 2. I think it goes without saying, but you should probably go back and watch Part 1 if you haven't seen it. This video encompasses days 5 through 7 of our trip, so you really should go back to the first video to get the full picture. With that being said, let's pick up right where we left off on You know the drill by now. We got up early and we left the house. We had booked a Segway tour of the Garden of the Gods in Colorado. None of us have ever ridden a Segway before, so we had to learn a bit, but it went surprisingly well. Now, we didn't need to book the Segways in order to tour the Garden of the Gods, but I am so glad that we did. The place was beautiful on its own, but the Segways added an extra element that made everything so much more fun. This was such a nice and relaxing way to start the day, just cruising around as a family on our Segways. Our tour guide was just so chill, and we were the only family on the tour, so it felt very personalized. We even got these little lizard on Segway patches that have been on my backpack ever since, and I absolutely love it. Although the hiking from the day before was the highlight of the trip up to this point, I have to say the Garden of the Gods trumps it with a spectacular 10 out of 10. At the time, the family also agreed that this was the best part of the trip so far. Next up was the Cave of the Winds Mountain Park. It was a chill little area with some attractions that I didn't go on, but my brother and sister did. They rated it an 8 out of 10, and so I'll just go along with that. We were also planning to visit Pikes Peak this afternoon. It easily would have been a highlight of the trip, and we were all looking forward to it, especially the donuts at the top. However, the weather just wasn't looking good, similar to the day before, with clouds covering all the mountains in the area. So unfortunately, we weren't able to go to Pikes Peak as we had originally planned to. Pretty much every night of this trip ends about the same, with us heading back to the house and going right to bed. But I just want to take the time to say that the place that we stayed at was really nice. If I had to rate the house, I would probably give it a 9 out of 10. Sadly, I don't have any good videos of it, but I really enjoyed it for what it was, despite not spending much time in it. So overall, it was a relatively short day, but we went to bed early and rested up, because we had a lot to do on This was a busy day, so our chances of seeing Pikes Peak were pretty small, but we start off the day with a train ride through Royal Gorge. This was my first time ever riding on a train, but it was a lot of fun. We spent a bit of time in our seats, but most of the time was spent out in the open air cars, which is where everyone was. But I can't blame them because the views were incredible. These were some of the best views that we had on our entire trip. We also passed under this huge bridge that we'll come back to later. The train went through the valley for a little while, but once it got to the end of the tracks, it went all the way back through the mountains. And it followed this river all the way through, which had a bunch of rafters. After the train ride, we ate at a sketchy IHOP in the sketchy town nearby, and then we were off to our next destination. Remember that bridge from earlier? Royal Gorge Bridge Park. After seeing it from below, we just had to check it out from above. The bridge was really scary at first, because it felt so insecure with these wooden beams and large gaps in between them. And it was so long, but there really wasn't much to do on the other side.
Seth. Cute.
Honestly, it probably wasn't worth the $40 fee just to walk across a bridge, but there was this one funny bird show that we watched because we felt like we had to get our money's worth. It was alright, so I'll give it a very generous 7 out of 10. Okay, so I don't know what I was thinking here. This place is quite literally the definition of a tourist trap, so I'm just gonna... Yeah, that's more like it. Then on the way to our next adventure, we stopped at this short little drive that went up this small mountain, and I enjoyed climbing up to see how high I could get. My mother did not. It wasn't a huge event, but it was a cool stop. 7 out of 10. To finish up day 6, we went hiking again on a new area and a new trail. This one was much different than the North Cheyenne Canyon Park. It was more open, similar to the paint mines from day 3. This was the Temple Canyon Park Redemption Trail. This trail was a lot of fun to go on, though there were a lot of weird sounding bugs, as well as a lot of poop that I really hope was horse poop, but we were all alone this time, so it really felt like we were out in the wild on our own, despite the fact that we were sticking to a path most of the time. Toward the end of the trail, there was this huge secret area that we had heard about that we just had to check out. It was much tougher to get to, and we all struggled at certain points, but it was definitely worth it. All right, now get down. No, I'm gonna video you stuck up there. Both of you. This trail gets another 9 out of 10, so the same as the trail from day 4. Despite their differences, they were both amazing and integral parts of this trip, at least to me. Well, that's all for day 6. We needed a lot of rest and preparation for the following day and for the Manitou Incline. On top of that, I had already acquired the worst sunburn of my life, despite using multiple layers of sunscreen the entire trip. But oh well, we had a mountain to climb, because tomorrow was... I said... Alright, This is it, the final day and the final challenge. We only had 2 simple goals on this day: survive Manitou Incline and then celebrate. We had booked a dinner reservation at the Melting Pot, which I had been looking forward to the entire trip. But before we could even consider the future, we had to deal with the task in front of us, the Manitou Incline. Okay, so now we're on our way to the Manitou Incline. What you're seeing here is only step 1 of 2,768. This was a monumental challenge for us, but we had been preparing and building up to this all week. Even if some of us wanted to back out now, there was nowhere to go but up. You're right in my way. Along the way, we made some friends, both human and chipmunk. So many chipmunks. We even decided to give them all individual names, and here they are now. We're about halfway right now. What you can see up there is not the top. Past that is about 300 more steps, but we're halfway now, so it's going pretty good. We're not doing too bad. Right, guys? This has got a lot. We had done it. We made it to the top. But our moment of triumph did not last very long, as we had to go all the way back down on a separate trail, and we had no idea what was coming. It started off slow and steady, and the scenery was absolutely beautiful. We knew that this wasn't going to be an easy path back down, but soon we realized that we would be spending the next few hours walking down this rough trail. To make things worse, about halfway down, it began to not just rain, but hail on us. We were so exhausted at this point that we were eager to be done. It genuinely felt like we had been walking all day, despite it being only a few hours. Overall, it was a great challenge, and if it weren't for the path back down, it probably would have been a 10 out of 10. But with all things considered, it gets an 8 out of 10. With the final challenge done and out of the way, and one of our 2 goals finished for the day, we only had one thing on our minds: food. We spent that afternoon resting and freshening up, and then that evening we had our reservation at the Melting Pot. The food was so good. If you haven't had the chance to go there, you need to try it. It was really expensive, and the appetizers weren't that great in my opinion, but the main course and the dessert were phenomenal. You might have already figured it out, but the Melting Pot gets a 10 out of 10. And that about wraps things up. As with many aspects of the trip, we spent the next 2 days heading back to where we started, home. And that's where the Colorado trip reaches its conclusion. Alright, thank you so much for watching this video and for joining me and my family on our trip to Colorado. As I said in the intro, I hope that you felt like you were right there alongside us. So to end this video off, I want to say thank you so much to my family for making this whole trip happen and for including me on it, as well as God for allowing this all to happen and for keeping us safe along the way. And lastly, I once again want to thank you so much for watching. So that being said, I hope that I will see you in the future.